Shocking truth, what the diver saw alone at 3 a.m. will haunt you forever. The water was dark, almost alive, curling around the diver like a predator in the shadows. It was 3 a.m., the time when nightmares are most vivid and reality fades into whispers. Jeremy plunged beneath the surface, breath held tight in his chest, his heart hammering an erratic symphony of dread. The ocean loomed, vast and unforgiving, hiding what could only be described as the unspeakable. His flashlight flickered. The beam cut through the murky darkness, revealing ghostly shapes flickering and dancing at the edges of his vision. But the strangest thing? They weren't fish. Strange creatures seemed to swirl beneath him, their bodies shaped like silhouettes of long-lost sailors, reaching out with skeletal hands. Jeremy squinted, scraping at the creeping feeling of being watched. Was it just the stillness, or was there a pair of eyes locked onto him from the depths? The water pressed against him, heavy and unforgiving, urging him to turn back. But he couldn't, curiosity gnawed at him like the relentless tide. His instincts screamed at him to get out, but his body refused to listen. He took another breath, this time feeling the cold seep deeper into his bones. What was happening? Then, out of the silence, a distant chant floated up, muffled and eerie, echoing like a call from a long-gone world. Help us, it was chilling, reverberating in his mind. The echoes danced amongst the bubbles rising to the surface, blurring the line between reality and something far more sinister. Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads-up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Fighting through the rising panic, Jeremy edged closer to a shadow that loomed larger than the rest. A piece of flotsam perhaps? An old boat? As he reached out, a dark shape shifted suddenly, revealing itself. His stomach dropped. An enormous, beady eye blinked open, staring straight into his soul. It hit him like a freight train. Whatever he thought he saw was more than just shadows, it was alive. A shiver coursed down his spine as the chanting grew louder, almost enveloping him. Something was calling out for help, or was it trying to trap him? With a pounding heart and trembling hands, he realized he was no longer alone in the deep. Desperate to escape, he shot to the surface, gasping for the precious air. But that haunting chant echoed in his mind. What did it mean? What would happen if he went back down? The enormity of his decision weighed on him. Curiosity or safety? The ocean churned angrily beneath him. In the battle for clarity, who would truly win? Would his next dive lead to the answers to the mysterious forces lurking beneath the surface, or to an even darker secret he wasn't ready to face? As Jeremy broke through the surface, he took in the night sky, each star like a distant whisper of hope. He clutched the edge of his boat, heart racing, feeling as though the ocean might swallow him whole if he dared to take a moment's rest. The chant still echoed in his ears, a siren-esque song that sliced through the silence. Help us, it was unmistakable. Those ghostly beings from the depths, longing for something or someone, struggling to steady his breathing. He quickly clambered back onto the vessel, shaking with adrenaline. What had he just encountered? The light from his flashlight flickered once more, casting a wavering glow across the deck. He glanced around, half expecting to see a creature or worse climbing the boat's side. But nothing materialized, just the occasional plop of a fish and the relentless rhythm of the tide. Yet, fear gripped him, a vice tightening around his chest. Shocked but curious, he rummaged in his gear for his camera. If there was something sinister lurking below the waves, he had to document it. Resolute, he took a deep breath, telling himself he had faced fears before. This time, it was different. The ocean seemed to pulse, calling him back. With trembling fingers, he pointed the camera down as he slipped back under. The water embraced him again, cold as ever, but his determination burned brighter. The beam of his flashlight cut through the murk, revealing familiar shapes once more. But their outline had changed. No longer just shadows for now, they appeared real, almost tangible in their desperation. "Help us," the voices whispered again, insistent, wrapping around him like tendrils of fog. He shivered but pressed on, compelled to get closer. Then, a flash of movement caught his eye. An object fluttered near the sandy bottom, partly concealed by seaweed. A diary, its cover faded but recognizable as something from an era long past. A chill ran down his spine. He could feel it calling to him, eagerly pulling him down deeper into the abyss. With a legendary effort, Jeremy dove toward it, the light revealing rough textures of coral and an unsettling stillness that seemed to rain down there. His heart raced in sync with his pulse, echoing louder than his breaths, echoing through his gear. The diary caught his eye, vibrant against the bleak surroundings. But before he reached it, something enormous loomed above him. A shadow darkened the light, blocking him from escaping. He froze, heart pounding so hard he felt it might burst. The shape was unmistakable, vast, slick, and oddly humanoid, suspended in the water like a specter. The haunting, skeletal hands were no longer an illusion, they were right in front of him. In a surge of primal instinct, Jeremy propelled himself upward, arm outstretched. He grasped the diary, desperate to avoid whatever horror the depths had summoned. Bursting into the surface, he gasped for air and gripped the diary, its pages flapping wildly in the wind. His mind raced. What secrets were held within? As he lay in the boat, shaking, he opened it, revealing the first words that jumped from the damp pages. "We were wronged, buried beneath this cursed sea." The last line quaked with urgency. "They are calling for redemption." His skin prickled with dread as he realized the truth buried within the words. What kind of bargain had he stumbled upon? Who was buried? What happened to the souls trapped within the deep? The ocean roared beneath him once more, as if in answer. Jeremy's heart raced. He had awakened something ancient, and the only way forward would plunge him deeper into the surf of madness. Would he dare return to the abyss, despite knowing it could lead to his end? The darkness pulsed around him, and he felt that familiar pull, an unfinished promise lurking in the depths. What lay beneath would not remain hidden for long. Would Jeremy find redemption, or would he become a part of the ocean's haunting history? The moonlight glinted off the ocean's surface, indifferent to the turmoil in Jeremy's heart. Clutching the diary, a weathered tome that felt almost alive in his hands, he had no idea what lay ahead. Would he face the past, or would the pulse of the ocean bury him forever? He scanned the horizon, the gentle lapping of waves betraying an unsettling calm. Gaping at the diary's yellowed pages, he felt the weight of history pressing down on him. Buried beneath this cursed sea, what cursed souls called to him? Who had wronged them? His thoughts whirled like a storm. Maybe it was time to dig deeper. He couldn't turn back now. The thrill of discovery mingled with an ever-building dread as he slipped the diary into his waterproof bag and prepared to dive again. As he entered the water, a shiver raced through him, not just from the chill, but from the anticipation gnawing at his insides. Descending through the layers of darkness, he felt the water swallowing him, the pressure closing in like a vice. The beam of his flashlight sliced through the abyss, revealing wakes of old wrecks, ghostly tales lost to time, and shadows that danced just beyond the light. "Help us," the voices echoed again, now merging with the thrum of his heartbeat, a haunting chorus that both terrified and compelled him. He pushed against the temptation to flee, moving toward an expanding silhouette that loomed ahead, half buried in the silt. Suddenly, a figure swam into view, a being tangled in seaweed, hair drifting like tendrils of lost hope. Jeremy's breath caught. Was it real or a trick of his imagination? He reached out with cautious fingers, but the moment his hand brushed against the ghostly visage, a sharp pain jolted through him, as if the ocean itself had bitten him. A vision flooded his mind, glimpses of despair, betrayal, and a once vibrantly populated village swallowed by waves. The cries of children, laughter frozen in time, suddenly became his own, a cacophony of horror. Pulling back, he kicked wildly upward, gasping for air as he broke through the surface. Above him, the stars were gone, replaced by a heavy shroud of clouds drifting in with the tide. The boat rocked beneath him, a lonely vessel offering no sanctuary. This wasn't just a nightmare, it was a hunt, the ocean searching for lost souls, and he had unwittingly become part of it. Each wave seemed to taunt him, teasing him with the secrets still hidden below. "They are calling for redemption," the words lingered, heavy on his tongue. What had happened to these people? What fate awaited him if he couldn't unravel their story? From the darkness, the figures began to reappear, tracing the edges of his vision like specters whispering in agony. The water churned beneath him, spinning like a cyclone. Fear erupted into a bitter flame within him. They had cried out once, but now the melody had changed. With mounting panic, Jeremy realized it was no longer a plea for rescue. It was a warning. Suddenly, the water surged, a dark wave rising to engulf him. The diary. He couldn't let it slip away, like the souls who sought their truth. He flailed, grabbing hold of it just as he felt the icy hands of the undead grasping at him, dragging him back beneath the heavy waves. With a surge of will, he yanked it to him and clawed for the surface, the ocean closing in with its insatiable hunger. But was this the end, or the beginning of an even darker tale? As he surfaced once more, gasping and clutching the diary, he realized he had a choice to make. Would he dive back down to face the terrifying truths lurking beneath? Or would he flee and seal their fate forever? The restless tide waited, whispering secrets that threatened to drown him if he didn't act soon. Jeremy tightened his grip, knowing one thing for certain: the next chapter of this hellish tale was just beginning. The moment Jeremy's fingers closed around the diary, a sudden jolt of energy coursed through him, fueled by a mix of fear and determination. The ocean seemed to still for the briefest of moments, as if holding its breath, waiting to see what he would do next. He climbed into the boat, drenched and trembling, the salty water glistening like jewels on his skin. Heart racing, he fought to comprehend the horror he had just glimpsed. The ghostly figure, twisted in anguish, hadn't just been a vision, it was a warning. Whatever lives had been lost beneath those waves were now demanding attention. The diary felt heavy on his lap, pulses of dread thrumming against his thighs like a live wire. With shaky hands, he fumbled to open its pages, desperate to glean any insight into the anguish trapped within. With each word he read, he felt the temperature dropping, as if the chill of the sea had snuck into his very bones. Legends tell of tragic lovers, one passage read, betrayal silencing vows made in the light of day, their cries swallowed whole by the sea. A gasp escaped his lips as a shiver raced down his spine. Those words seemed to echo the very essence of the vision he'd encountered. It could not be coincidence. A storm of emotions swirled within him, curiosity battling pounding fear and guilt. Would he really dare to plunge back down to discover the reality of it all? But in his heart, he knew he had to. The spirits wouldn't let him go that easily. The wind howled, slamming against him like a forceful reminder of what awaited below. But resolve ignited him, and he felt pulled back toward the depths. He secured the diary into his waterproof bag again and slipped over the edge of the boat, diving into the dark embrace of the ocean once more. This time, the water welcomed him, swirling around his legs with a chilling fervor. Replacing the initial panic was a fierce determination. As the surface light faded, he swam downward, visibility limited but guided by an unyielding instinct. The flicker of his flashlight carved through the darkness, revealing remnants of past lives, pieces of forgotten dreams scattered among the wrecked vessels. The deeper he went, the more the cries began to unravel, enmeshing with his thoughts. "Find us, remember us," the spectral whispers grew louder, merging with the pounding of his heart. Suddenly, the beam caught a shimmering object nestled among the wreckage. There, half buried in sand and debris, was a locket. Jeremy's heart raced. He recognized it immediately. It belonged to the ghostly figure. He reached out, feeling the weight of time press against him like the ocean itself. The moment he grasped it, a flood of horrifying images crashed into him, scenes of jealousy, heartbreak, and vengeful ghosts reaching for him, willing him to uncover the truth. Voices echoed in his mind, begging him to piece together stories of betrayal and loss. Jolted back into reality, Jeremy felt a fierce grip wrapping around his foot. Panic surged through him as he looked down, only to see the amorphous figure emerging from the shadows below. It was the woman, the one his instincts told him he had to help, but now her face was twisted in agony. "Release me," she mouthed soundlessly, and then the tide seemed to erupt, swirling around them both with violent fury. What had he unleashed? He fought against the impending chaos, lactic acid burning in his limbs. The locket slipped from his fingers, tumbling to the bottom, but still, he swam, cycling through his terror, his breath short, frantically reaching for the surface. He couldn't help but think, was he too late to save her? Or was he too late to save himself? As Jeremy broke through the waves once more, gasping for air, the seeming calm of the ocean mocked him a quiet before a much larger storm. The locket, lost to the depths, felt like a symbol of everything he had lost and had yet to discover. What other treasures lay buried beneath the ones that might redeem the souls calling to him from beyond? He had no idea of the significance of his next dive, but the dark ocean was hungry, and its secrets were restless. His next plunge would either be salvation or collapse into the abyss. What awaited him beneath the surface would challenge everything he thought he knew. Would he have the strength to face it? Jeremy surfaced, heart pounding, gasping greedily for air. The boat rocked gently above him, an island of safety mocking his turmoil. He glanced down, feeling the pressure of unseen forces pulling at his legs, as if the very ocean was trying to reclaim him. "Get it together, man," he muttered under his breath. The cool embrace of the sea still tingled on his skin, but fear clutched at his throat like a vice. The face of the woman remained etched in his mind, a haunting reminder that there was no turning back now that he climbed back into the boat, the edges of his vision blurring with panic. What had he encountered down there? The whispers felt familiar, echoing the fears buried in his own past. He fumbled with the waterproof bag, pulling out the diary again. Maybe there was something I missed, he thought. The pages fluttered as he thumbed through them like a desperate child searching for salvation. The ink seemed to writhe under his gaze, alive with secrets waiting to be uncovered. He settled on another passage, each word a wave crashing against the shore of his sanity. Tragedy flows and ebbs like the tides. A wedding ring lost, a promise broken, all that remains are restless cries buried beneath the waves. As he read those words, the atmosphere around him thickened. He could feel the weight of unfinished business closing in, like the sky darkening before an impending storm. "What do you want from me?" he whispered, as if the ocean could respond. A sudden splashing broke the silence. Jeremy leaped to the side of the boat, peering over the edge. There it was again, beneath the surface, something stirring, twisting, rising. Panic surged, but he couldn't look away. The water darkened again, cloaking the unknown with an impenetrable shroud, and then her voice barely a whisper. Find the truth." His heart quickened. The urgency in her plea clawed at his insides. He had to dive again. It was madness, he knew that, but a deeper part of him felt anchored to this strange calling. The waves crested and fell, as if whirled outside the boat prepared for his next leap. He glanced at the dying sunlight, painting the horizon with hues of gold and crimson. It was now or never. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with hope and dread, and plunged back into the frigid depths. Darkness enveloped him, but the dim beam of his flashlight carved a path through the gloom. It felt different this time. The whispers of the past resonated more violently, a cacophony of pain and longing. "Remember us" clawed at his mind like scratched vinyl, repeating, echoing, demanding that he focus. Shifted as he swam deeper, the remnants of the wreckage flickering past him. Then, out of the shadows, a silhouette rose, more defined now. A glimmer caught his attention, another locket, a rusted key, a skeletal hand reaching out. They scattered around him like the debris of grief, tales begging to be told, but suddenly, the figure loomed closer, ethereal yet palpable, eyes filled with sorrow and accusation. "Release me," she echoed again, a command and a plea intertwined. The water twisted violently around him, a treacherous current that felt like an eviction from reality, yanking him closer. He felt himself weightless and trapped, suspended between worlds. "Wait!" he shouted, clutching his flashlight like a lifeline. "Tell me what you need." But the words clung to his throat, drowning under the surge of emotion, drowning under the weight of regret. With desperate determination, he reached out towards her. "You don't have to be alone." But all he received was a haunting silence, the abyss beckoning, the darkness relentless. As he descended deeper, surrounded by sorrowful remnants, the surface light faded into an indifferent glimmer. What awaited him now felt like a reckoning. The ocean throbbed like a living beast, eager to swallow his pleas. Would he uncover the truth that had driven spirits to madness, or would he become yet another victim of the harrowing sea? The answer, he sensed, lay tantalizingly close, singing through the dark a promise buried beneath the chaos, a revelation waiting to be unearthed. The cold water gripped Jeremy like a vice as he drifted deeper into its murky embrace. Time seemed irrelevant, a fleeting concept against the raw urgency that coursed through his veins. The beam of his flashlight flickered against the wreckage, illuminating fragments of lives once lived, now consumed by sorrow and decay. Each object, a locket, a ring, a photograph, held the weight of 1,000 untold stories, calling out to him, desperate for acknowledgement. "Release me." Her voice lingered in the current, pulling him forward. The urgency in her tone felt almost tangible, wrapping around him like a shroud. He felt drawn to the depth, to the terrifying unknown. He knew he had no choice but to confront whatever awaited him. He swam toward the figure, his pulse racing in sync with the rushing water around him. The closer he got, the clearer her features became, gaunt and hollowed by time, yet beautiful and filled with an aching sadness. He realized with a jolt that her eyes mirrored his own desperation, a reflection of struggle and unresolved pain. "Who are you? What is your truth?" he shouted, knowing no one could hear him underwater, but she pointed downward, a skeletal finger gesturing toward the abyss, where shadows danced and twirled. A chill ran down his spine as he glanced beneath her. It was darker than anything he had ever experienced, an unfathomable void that felt alive with secrets and regrets. With a mix of fear and determination, he dove deeper, each stroke a fight against the currents that seemed to beckon him closer to the dark heart of the ocean. The debris shifted around him, revealing more horrors: shattered glass, rotten wood, and twisted metal, all remnants of a tragedy that felt too close to him. A sudden wave of silence enveloped him, the muffled world above fading away into nothing. Even the whispers that filled the water had died down, leaving only the distant thrum of his heartbeat. As Jeremy reached what seemed to be the ocean floor, he stumbled upon an object half buried in the sand. His fingers grazed over the cool metal, and he realized it was a locket, a perfect match for the one he had seen before. He pried it open, heart pounding harder than ever. Inside was a photograph of two smiling faces, a woman and a child, frozen in a moment of pure joy. A name, etched into the metal frame, sent a rush of adrenaline through him, a name he recognized from the diary: Emily. Sudden memories began to flood his mind, images of his own mother, lost all those years ago. Emily, he breathed, the name spilling from his lips like a prayer. Who was she? What happened to her? Then, a violent surge of water ripped through the dark, spinning him around. A heavy force crashed against his chest, dragging him backward. Panic clawed at him, a primal fear that he was about to join the ranks of the forgotten. He flailed, desperately kicking against the current, but the powerful tide drew him toward the figure again, pulling him deeper into her world. "Release me," came the voice, clearer now, a chorus rising in the desperate currents. He was being summoned, a tide of memories and spirit converging around him. The truth was within reach, yet he felt the air slip away, each breath in his lungs becoming a desperate gasp for survival. Floating away from life, his fingers remained clawed around the locket, straining against the weight of terror. He clutched it tighter, feeling a pull, an energy almost electric. What other secrets did Emily hold? What was it that trapped her in this abyss? Suddenly, the water lightened, illuminating something just beyond the reach of his flashlight. It was a glimmering object, more lockets and keys, but surrounded by a tangled mass, a net, grimy with time and despair. then his breath caught in his throat as a new realization hit him: the truth was not just hers but his own as well. As the water tugged him further into the dark, his heart raced wildly. The long-cherished fears and buried memories intertwined, whispering promises and truths that he wasn't prepared to face. What awaited him just beyond that shimmering glimmer? Was it salvation, or something far more sinister? The deeper he went, the more he understood, and the more lost he became in the quest for answers. And then, there was a sudden tug on his heart, a pull that made him question everything. Could he dive even deeper and confront what had been hidden for so long? Or would he, like the many souls before him, disappear into the haunting depths of tragedy forever? The darkness enveloped him, pulling Jeremy deeper. As he grasped the locket, a surge of fear jolted through him, sending chills racing down his spine. The figure floated mere feet away, the water around her shimmering with an otherworldly glow. Her eyes, once mirroring his desperation, now held an urgency that pierced through his fear. "Tell me," he shouted into the drowning silence. "What do you need me to see?" Her mouth moved, but the words disappeared into the swirling currents. They were lost, swallowed by the depths. He could feel the pressure around him, palpable and suffocating, and with each passing moment, doubt seeped into his resolve. He thought of the locket, Emily's name echoing in his mind. Why did it feel so important? Then, she gestured toward the tangled net. Its dark thread seemed to pulse slowly, as if alive, cradling more objects lost to time, each one a story trapped in the void. Jeremy swam closer, accepting the pull of fate. He had come this far. He couldn't turn back now. As he reached the net, something sharp sliced through his palm. He recoiled, eyes widening as he stared at the crimson droplets, blood dancing against the reticent water, a stark contrast to the muted world surrounding him. Pain shot through him, and the locket slipped from his fingers, sinking slowly into the abyss. "No! Emily!" he cried, but his voice was muffled, a whisper against the thundering tide. The water roared, thrumming with the energy of countless souls, their despair mingling with his anguish. Suddenly, the waters swirled violently, revealing glimpses of memories not his own. Jeremy saw flashes of happy reunions, gut-wrenching farewells, laughter turned to wails. The faces shifted, blended, contorted with grief and love. Among them, he spotted a face he half-remembered: his mother, her smile the same as the woman in the photograph. "Mother, is that you?" he gasped, grasping for clarity amidst the chaos. But the vision faded as swiftly as it came, replaced by swirling shadows and torment. A whispering gale enveloped him. "Find the truth," it seemed to sing, the current stealing his breath. And then he felt it, a cold hand grasping his ankle, dragging him down, deeper still. Panic clawed at his throat. He fought against the unseen force. "I have to go up. I can't stay." But reality shifted. Every stroke felt heavier, every movement slower, as if the very water conspired against him. "Release us," the echoes of the voices pressed around him, as the shadows danced closer, reaching for him with desperate, ghostly hands. He couldn't breathe, the weight of their sorrow plunged him into despair. The sensation wrapped around his heart like a vice, squeezing tightly. The urgency to surface battled with the pull of the unseen depths. Was he to learn their truth, or was he merely being swallowed like countless others? In one final act of defiance, Jeremy pushed upward, sheer will driving his every motion. The glimmers of light above seemed to beckon, urging him to the surface. With a violent kick, he broke through, gasping for air, heart pounding wildly. But he wasn't safe. He turned to find the locket, only to see Emily's ghostly visage leaning against the net, her eyes wide, filled with melancholy and desperate expectation. "You know," she said, voice barely a whisper against the lapping waves. "You cannot escape." Jeremy's heart raced, realization dawning. He was not the only one trapped. Was this the beginning of understanding, or a step deeper into his own damnation? And somewhere in the depths, the truth waited, ready to shatter everything he thought he knew. What had he just escaped, and what would he uncover next? The water spilled over Jeremy's gasping lungs as he flailed to breathe, the adrenaline fighting the oppressive doom that enveloped him. Panic winked in and out, darting through him like the flashes of memory he had just witnessed. He could still feel the chilling grip around his ankle, the shadows, the voices, all intertwining into a web of grief. Swiping water from his eyes, he struggled to understand the ghostly ATM that held Emily back. "Emily!" he shouted, his voice battling the lashing waves, desperate for a connection. "Please! What do you need from me?" Yet the mere wish for her to speak again felt like pleading with the wind. Her eyes, shimmering like stars dulled by a storm, pointed toward the net, pooling with submerged secrets. He felt a chill, a calling from within, a latent urge to dive back in, but was it madness? He swiveled, drawing in the daylight surrounding the water, dissolving the haze of despair that had grasped his heart. The restless waves shimmered under the sun, casting fleeting shadows on the surface. On the horizon, a storm loomed, a brewing tempest that mirrored the chaos within. Instinct gnawed at him, propelling him into an uneasy swim, the call of a lost voice looming heavy in his chest. Every instinct screamed to escape, yet he felt tethered to that endless void below him, to Emily's pleas that echoed like a haunting lullaby through the briny air. The locket. It simpered tauntingly in the depths. If he could only retrieve it, perhaps it would unlock answers buried deep. "Wait!" he yelled, terror slicing through his mind like shards of glass. Wings of realization beat heavy against him. There was more to the locket than he knew. It wasn't merely a trinket of affection, it was a key to understanding. He clutched the edge of the boat nearby, eyes scanning the surface for the locket that dangled from the phantom's fingers mere moments ago. Where had it gone? The water rippled beneath him, each shift monster-like, revealing nothing but shadows that teased his senses. Just then, a sudden splash startled him. He wrenched around. A flock of seabirds squawked overhead, frantic chatter mixing with the wind. They swooped low. Maybe this was a sign. Could the ocean hold answers too? Thunder rumbled in the distance, merging with the haunting whispers, diving deep into the soul. He dropped his gaze back into the water, heart racing. A glint. It flickered below, teasing him just out of reach. He lunged, barely breaking the surface as he submerged again. His fingers outstretched, brushed against something cold, slick and foreign, and for a second, Jeremy thought he'd found it. A gasp left his lips as the shadows morphed, gnarled hands rising from the abyss, pulling at his waist, clawing up his torso. "Jeremy!" Emily's voice sliced through the chaos like a knife, echoing with the power of ghosts straining for the air tighter around him. "You have to," but then it hit him. The moment fractured into chaos, shattering as he drew back instinctively with a desperate thrust that propelled him upwards. He burst through the surface, breathless, wide-eyed, seeing her face staring right at him. A riptide of fear threatened to drown him again as he gasped, "What do I do?" "No time," she pleaded, shock washing over her features. Lightning crackled across the sky, signaling a tempest just above the surface. In an instant, the truth swung back to him, a warning, a direction to follow, a choice. Around the boat, the ocean roared, breaking his thoughts like shards of ice. It felt as though a wave knocked him backward, altering trajectories and relishing chaos. "Find the truth before it finds you," Emily screamed, and that when the heart of the storm crackled into life, the ocean raging, swirling with unforgiving power. As Jeremy fought against the violent currents, a looming dread settled into his bones. There was more to discover below. He felt it in his gut like an impending collapse. What creature, what thought, what truth waited just beneath those pools of still, dark water? What had he unwittingly awakened in the depths? Just then, a chilling realization grasped his heart. He was not done diving. Not yet. The water exploded around him as Jeremy plunged back beneath the surface, the chaos of the storm raging above blending with the shadows below. He fought against the current, surrendering to the depths, the icy grip of the ocean wrapping around him like a shroud. Emily's voice echoed in his mind, raw and urgent. There was truth lurking down here, and he had to find it before the storm consumed them both. His lungs screamed for air, but he pushed deeper. The darkness enveloped him like a thick fog, swirling with uncertain promise. He focused on the flicker of light. He'd seen the glint of the locket somehow alive within the abyss. Each kick pushed him further into the unknown, and he felt the shadows grasping around him again, teasing his skin with icy fingers. Jeremy squinted into the murky water, searching with a feverish determination. He felt the pressure build within him, claustrophobic and suffocating, but there was no turning back. Memories of Emily flooded his thoughts, images from their time together, her laughter, the way her eyes lit up under the summer sun. All of it hung like a weight around his heart, driving him deeper still. Finally, his fingertips brushed against something solid. Heart pounding, he grasped it, pulling it close. The moment he turned it over in his hands, a chilling wave of recognition surged through him. The locket. It felt heavier than it should, almost as if it contained secrets lost to time. But as he grappled with the locket, the shadows coiled tighter, swirling around him in malice. He turned, thrusting upwards, only to find himself surrounded. From the dark depths emerged faces twisted in silent screams, entities writhing in torment, lost souls crying out in despair. Jeremy gasped in horror, their empty eyes filled with sorrow that crushed against his heart. "Let me go!" he shouted, thrashing against their grasp. The cold fingers clawed at him, desperation mingling with panic as he fought back, a lone warrior against a legion of the forsaken. Suddenly, he felt a rush of warmth. Emily. Her presence sliced through the creeping dread, and he could almost see her shimmering in the depths. "You have to come back," she cried, her voice stronger now, urging him to rise. "Hold on to the locket, Jeremy. It's not what it seems. It's our answer." With one final burst of strength, he surged toward the surface, pulling the locket against his chest. As he broke through into the tumultuous air, he gasped desperately, lungs burning. Rain pelted down, a cold slap against his skin, but the storm had shifted, the angry waves now pulled away from him, as if sensing his ascent. "Jeremy!" Emily was there again, her ethereal form flickering like a beacon of hope. "You must listen. The locket reveals the truth of my fate." "What truth?" he stammered, breathless. The water around them began to calm, the shadows receding, only to reveal a terrifying calm. "It's not just a reminder of us. It holds the key to understanding why I was taken. You have to." A deafening crack split the sky, light flashing as a bolt of lightning struck the ocean, sending up violent sprays of water. The boat rocked dangerously, and the calm turned on a dime, pressure building in the air again. Suddenly, a monstrous wave reared up before them, colossal, looming. "Hold on!" he shouted, instinct kicking in as he grabbed Emily's hand. But her form flickered like a mirage. "Don't let them take you." Heart racing, he turned toward the rising wall of water. In that instant, he understood that the storm and the locket were tied with Emily's fate. "What do I need to do?" The words slipped from his trembling lips, but hope hung just out of reach. A scream echoed through the air, both human and inhuman, blurring the line of reality. And then it struck. The wave crashed down. That heartbeat, everything changed. What would await him in the wreckage of their past? His thoughts raced. Did he have the strength to uncover the deepest truths, or would they both drown in despair? The answer lay hidden beneath the waves, and the storm was just beginning. The darkness had swallowed them both. Jeremy felt the weight of the water above him begin to press down like a heavy blanket, but hope flickered in his chest. The locket, now a part of this chaos, pulsed against him, commanding his attention. He clutched it tighter, as if it were the thread to his survival. The roar of the sea had quieted, replaced by a deafening silence that encased him. This was the calm before something monumental. He could see Emily's form ahead, clearer now than before, a reflection of all the lost souls who sought resolution. He swam closer, and the memory of her sorrow fueled a newfound determination. Show me, he whispered, feeling the power of the locket surge like electricity through his veins. The moment he spoke, a cold current surged around him, and visions burst forth in his mind as he saw a village, bustling with life under a sun that seemed brighter than anything he'd ever known. Laughter rang free, yet his heart felt heavy, knowing the fate that awaited them. Voices Emily's, and others whispered through the chaos, repeating a single statement: the truth is buried. With every heartbeat, the memories grew more vivid, and he witnessed the betrayal that had torn their lives apart, a love stifled, twisted by jealousy, and swallowed by the insatiable rage of the ocean. A figure rose in his mind, a man, dark and brooding, Emily's lover turned captor. The envy in his eyes seared into Jeremy's soul. Find the anchor of the past, the whispers begged. The realization pierced him. This was not just Emily's story, it was his too. Haunted by his own fears and losses, the ocean was asking for redemption from them all. Emily! He yelled into the void. What must I do? The locket began to glow in his grip, illuminating the water with a warm light. Guide me, she replied, her voice breaking through the silence, urging him toward the remnants of the wreckage. Jeremy swam deeper, the shadows around him shifting in response to the light. He felt the ocean surrender slightly, granting him passage as he dived downward. There, amidst sunken ruins and tangled nets, he found the fragments: a ring, a pendant, a photograph, all remnants of lives unfulfilled and hopes dashed. With each object he picked up, he felt the stories surge within him, swirling like a whirlpool of emotion. He laid each piece before the locket as the light grew brighter, illuminating secrets long shrouded in darkness. When the glimmer settled, the anguished faces of the spirits emerged, Emily's companions who had suffered alongside her. They hovered around him, pleading and hopeful. You must make things right, they chorused. Panic rose, yet fear was eclipsed by renewed strength. He understood now. In order to free Emily and the others, he had to confront her past and forgive not only the betrayals but also his own. I won't let you down, he vowed, holding the locket tightly. As he swam towards the surface, the spirits flanked him, their desperate cries now transformed into a harmonious echo that reverberated with conviction. Bursting above the water, Jeremy gasped for air. The storm had begun to abate, and the twilight sky hung heavy and incandescent. He grasped the locket tightly against his heart, the spirits swirling around him in a protective glow. He turned back toward the horizon, where the village once thrived. I will tell your story, he shouted into the fading storm. You will not be forgotten. With that promise, the last remnants of despair slipped away. The water calmed, cradling him like a father easing a child to safety. The shapes and forms of the spirits began to fade, ascending toward the heavens like ash in the wind, a chorus of whispers filled with gratitude. He felt Emily's presence lingering behind, a warmth enveloping him like a reassuring embrace. As he drifted back to his boat, the sky broke into colors he had never seen, a canvas of hope and redemption painting over tragedy. Each wave softened, still and shimmering with the echoes of lives reborn. Jeremy knew the journey wasn't over, but the darkness that had clawed at his heart began to vanish. He made a choice, and the next chapter awaited him, alive with possibility as an endless horizon stretched before him. It was time to step forward into the light of a new day, ready to understand his own truth, ready to dive again, this time, not just for the lost, but for himself. Now, don't leave yet. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now. It really helps us out with the algorithm and shows your support, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what just happened. I want to hear from each and every one of you. Lastly, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans know the power of sticking together and supporting what they love. Let's go.